Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today, back to working over on the steam Stoker engine, and today's goal, what I want to do is, I want to do some inspecting work, figuring out, kind of coming up with a game plan going forward. And also I need to get a bunch of parts and hardware ordered because I know I don't have a lot of the stuff I need. I need to kind of get a list of what I need to get ordered. So we're going to be doing just some of the things that just has to be done in order to move forward on this project. We've got the slideways for the crosshead machined. They're ready to go. And again, before I can really continue on, I got to start looking at putting this thing back together. And there's some things I just haven't taken the time to look at. And part of it has to do with the crankshaft and these bearings right here. Now, I have mentioned before that this crankshaft is one of the things that honestly was one of the things that kind of slowed me down on this project. When I got the Stoker engine taken apart originally, the crankshaft had some issues with these bearing journals in here. And we decided we were going to get this whole crankshaft reworked. I took it to a shop not far from me that specializes in doing crankshafts. That's really their expertise, mostly in the diesel engine world, you know, big semi-trucks, big tractors, things like that. But it's a crankshaft. And when I took it in there, he says, yeah, I can do it. It doesn't matter if it's a steam engine or, you know, a diesel engine. It's a crankshaft. I had the original specs for this. I had the blueprints for it. He was able to take that and basically take this thing back to where it needs to be. And what he had to do was he had to build up all the journals in here, all the bearing journals, and then grind them back down to the proper size. Again, he has a machine shop set up for that. I wish that I could have gotten some video of him doing this, but he wasn't doing it the day I was over there, but he's got a system that when he welds this thing up, it's a special machine. It's basically a MIG wire feed welder that welds it, kind of like when I'm building up journals to do cane mills, but it's all done underwater. He's basically got it all submerged down into a tank, and that keeps the crankshaft cool, and it's made for doing crankshafts. That keeps from any distortion getting here and moving this thing around. Once that's done, he turns it back down and then comes in and precision grinds these things and does a fabulous job on it. The problem that I had was I dropped this thing off to him. It's been several years ago now, and it was shortly before COVID. And the gentleman that runs the shop, he's pretty much a one-man shop. I think he does have one person that works for him, but he does pretty much most of this type of stuff himself. He got COVID, and he got a really bad case of COVID. It almost killed him. He was out of work for months. I think it was like 9 months. He wasn't able to go into the shop at all. And then once he was able to get into the shop, he was only able to do just kind of easing back into things. He got way behind on his work, as you can imagine. And when he did finally get back into the shop, he was like, I got these customers out here that are driving trucks for a living, whatever. They need their equipment for a living. I said, I got to take care of them first. Understandable. We were not in a huge hurry at that time. So yeah, it took me about almost 3.5, 4 years to get this thing back when all this stuff transpired and everything else. But we do have it back. He did an outstanding job on it. And what I want to do now is just kind of come in here and inspect this. I want to look at the journals. I know what they're supposed to be, and I'm confident that they are exactly what they're supposed to be. I want to compare that with the bronze bushings that they go into. Now, this engine, when I took it apart, the journals here were worn down considerably. And I know what the original specs were for the bronze bushings. I have a suspicion, and I may be wrong, but I have a suspicion that at some point in time, as this whole crankshaft worn down, that they changed the bushings out here with smaller bushings, which was a common practice. I've actually got the manuals and stuff on the Stoker engine, and they had in there, you know, okay, when you reach a certain limit, you regrind the crankshaft, you put in a smaller bushing, you keep on rolling. I think maybe that's what they did. I don't know that. I haven't really come in here and inspected these to find out exactly where they are. My hope is that these bearings are going to be either on size, where they're right where they need to be, they're not worn out oversized, or they're undersized, and I can put it over on my boring mill and bore it out to get it to the proper size. So we're going to figure that out. I don't know where we're at now. Like I said, I guess worst case is they're oversized and I have to make new bushings and put in here. Ideal case, they're right where they need to be or close enough that we can just work with it, not have to do anything major. The other thing, again, we can put it on the boring mill if they're undersized, and we can bore it back out to get it back to the original specs. So let's get in here and start doing some inspecting and see what we need to do. All right, so here is the crankshaft. You've got the main journals, which is this one, and this one, which is on the center of the crankshaft. And there's the two bronze end caps. There's also one in the center that this whole thing pivots on. You got these journals out here. These are for the piston rods. They, of course, are offset at 90 degrees. And then you've also got these two right here. These are where the eccentrics go. These are kind of like cam lobes, and that's what's going to move the valve back and forth to let the steam into the right place inside the engine. So we got basically 3 different measurements that we need to make. These, I'm trying to remember. So the main journals, according to the blueprint, are supposed to be 3 inches. And let's see what we got here. I'm going to measure this with my micrometer. And yeah, we're right on the money. Yeah. Yeah, so these are all right on 3 inches. These up here, I don't remember what these are. So 2 3/4. 2 3/4 right on the money. And then I think these are actually larger. I need to go up a size of micrometer here. Yep, these are 4 inches right here, and they are right on the money. So I know where we need to go to. Again, he did an outstanding job grinding this. These are dead nuts on right where they need to be. So we should be good to go there. I'm going to wrap this back up. He put it in a plastic sleeve just to protect it. I'm going to put it back in there, and we're going to set this aside for right now. And we'll get over here and start measuring the bronzes and see where they're at. All right, these pieces here basically bolt onto the side case of the main casting, and your journals, the main journals are one bearing's on this side, one bearing is on this side, and then there's a third bearing in the middle that's just a split. These right here are solid. They're not split, but anyway, I need to check these out, check out the diameters and see where we are on these. Now, one of them, this one, it just has an end cap that goes on it. In fact, this is the end cap right here. That'll seal it up, keep any oil or anything from coming off of it. The other one actually has the shaft that comes through it, and there's a square kind of power takeoff on that they actually power it with. This one has a grease seal or oil seal that presses in. I've already pressed that out, and I've been able to find, this is a Garlock brand. Anyway, I was able to find it. I found the numbers on it. I was able to order an exact copy of that. That is on its way to me, but there is a seal that presses in there. That's why that little indention's in there. So these should be, well, for what we're going for, they need to be 3 inches, or actually just a little bit oversized, because the journals are a true 3 inches, and I think they say for clearance, you got to have some oil clearance in there. They say for every inch you need between 3/4 and 1/1000 of an inch. So that's going to be about 2 1/4 to 3/1000 oversized is kind of where we are ideally going to. I don't know where these are. I have not measured them. I have a bore micrometer here, tri-mic they call these, 3 points. You get a really good accurate measurement with it, and I'm just going to see where we are. So this is going to determine whether we have to bore this thing out, replace them, or just hone these and get them, if they're real close, or maybe right on. Let's see where they are. So that's a tight fit right there. And okay, so we are, looks like we're right at 3 inches, maybe a half a thou undersize. Let's check this one. That one is about 1 thou undersize, if I'm reading it right. Yeah, so, okay, these are real close. So they are going to be just a little bit undersized. We're going to probably have to take maybe just a thou or two out of these to get a good fit, but they're really close. I was expecting these to be undersized, honestly. But that's actually good because that means I'm probably not going to have to worry about setting this up on the boring mill and boring it. We can probably just hone that little bit out that we need to get these to size. So that's good. All right. I wasn't expecting that, so that's good. That lets me know where we are here. All right, that was a pleasant surprise. Like I said, I was expecting to have to bore these out. I was expecting to put it on my boring mill back here and have to bore them out, but I'll need to think about how I want to, kind of get these just a little bit larger. But I'm thinking that this is it's not going to be worth the effort to put it on the boring mill just to take out a couple of thou. I think we can do that other ways. I'm going to have to think about the best way of doing it, but now that I know what I need to do, I'm good to go. So that's great. All right, that's a load off my shoulders there. Let me think about what next thing I want to do is on the actual Stoker case. There's a bunch of hardware that we need to get ordered. Let me kind of round that up. I need to get a shopping list put together so that we can figure out what we need to get ordered so that we can start putting this thing back together. So let me kind of go gather up the pieces. I got a little bit of information on what's supposed to be in there, and we'll come up with a shopping list and go ahead and try to get some of that ordered. So when I took this engine apart, I kind of bagged up a lot of the parts and put them over here where I would kind of have things together, and I tried to even mark on here where they came off of. A lot of this is the hardware, and on this Stoker engine, they didn't really use bolts to put it together like you would think. Almost everywhere where there would be a bolt to hold something together, for example, these little side plates over here that bolt onto the side, instead of having a bolt that goes in there, they have a stud that comes out of the casting and then a nut that tightens up on it. That's pretty much how they did it all. Not exactly sure why. There's a reason for that, but that's what we're going to go back with. A lot of these places you probably could use bolts, but hey, we're going to keep it original, so we're going to put studs back in here. Now I have here a parts list and a parts diagram that kind of shows all the parts, and there is some information about the studs in here. And let me just zoom you in here and kind of show you this drawing. This is pretty cool. So this is a nice, drawing that kind of shows a side view and top view and everything else, and it kind of has a list over here of all the parts that go in here and where they go. This diagram is going to be real helpful to me as I start putting this thing back together, I'm sure. Although I think I remember where most everything went, I may have a question or two, and I can go take a look at this, and it will really help out in kind of putting it back together. I also have some other documentation, drawings, and so forth. Fortunately, I got a lot of really good information on this engine that's going to really help out putting it back together. But down here, you got all the different studs, and you can see, like right here, you got a stud that's holding that plate on here. You got studs holding on the side plates here. There's studs holding everything together in here. So anyway, I got to get all this stuff ordered. I got the original stuff that came out of here, but this stuff is toast. It was really badly pitted, so we're just going to replace it all and put fresh hardware in here. I'm just going to grab my first bag here and dump this out. And these are the studs that actually hold those side plates on with the bearings that we were just looking at a minute ago. It And I got nuts. Let's see, yeah. All right, so there's the nuts. Let's figure out what size these are. So these are 5/8 inch diameter, and they look to be 2 1/4 inches long. And I'm gonna look over here on my parts list, and let's see. Yep, 5/8 by 2 1/4. I found here on my parts list. I'm just gonna kind of put a check mark there. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of these. And I'm gonna write these down. I'm gonna go and verify these numbers looking at the holes in the machine. But let's see, this is outside main bearing. I need 14, and we need 5/8 by 2 1/4 stud, and we'll need nuts for those too. All right. Now there's also, this is one place they did use a bolt, and this is the little cap that goes on the for that little cap that we talked about on the end. And these are, what are these? 3/8 by 1 inch. There's 4 of those. I'm just gonna put bolt there. Okay, let me put these up. We'll grab the next ones and see. These are not in, well, they're not in great shape, but a lot of the hardware itself really severely pitted, and this actually isn't that bad, but I wouldn't want to reuse these nuts for sure. And we're just gonna put all new studs. A lot of these studs I actually broke getting them out, or they just really fought me the whole way. We're putting all new hardware in here. This whole thing was, anything that was cast iron held up pretty good. Anything that was steel was severely pitted and rusted beyond what I'm comfortable trying to reuse. All right. What do we got here? These are for the main bearing on the inside. And there's 4 of these, and these are 3/4 by 3. Three-quarter by 3 stud and nuts. Okay. Next, all right, these are the cylinder studs. So all around, the whole cylinder on this thing it's kind of bolted onto the main case. And see, we got multiple things going on in this bag. Let me kind of get these sorted out. All right, so the cylinder studs. I will note that on my drawing, you got a short stud on this side and a long stud on this side. Now, this model is a little bit different than the one I've got. There's a bigger separation in the center section on the one I have, and it basically doesn't have a stud that goes all the way through. It's a short stud on both sides. So in this, let's see what we got, what it says we need. Let me find them on here. All right, so I got 3/4 by 5 and 3/4 by 2 3/4. So let's see what these are. These are 3/4 and 2 3/4. So we don't have the 5-inch ones. We're just got the 2 3/4. And let's see, these are, what are these called? The cylinder to engine bed. And these are 3/4 by 2 3/4. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 30. There's 31 of them. Interesting. I'm going to put that on here. I'm going to confirm all these numbers. I don't have a list over here that shows the numbers of them, how many. Now there's also these. These are 1/2 inch by 1.75 inches. Okay, this is for the steam chest heads, and that's why they're in that same bag. And what I say, 1/2 inch by 1 3/4, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, these are the crosshead studs. So that area that we just worked on inside the engine that we planed, these are the studs that hold the little cover on those. These were really in bad shape. Look at that nut there, how corroded and pitted. I mean, it's halfway gone. So let's find these on the list. I think these are what they call the guide bars, which they say is 5/8 by 2 1/4. Let's see if that's right. 5/8 by 2 1/4. Yep. Call these guide bars. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm going to confirm again all my numbers. Okay, these are the top cover studs. There's a cover that goes on the top that holds them down. These are 1/2 inch by 1.5 inches. Let's see. Cover. All right, we are getting our list of stuff put together here. I think I've got my hardware pretty well covered between measuring what's over here and going down the list and seeing what all I need. The next thing I need are some copper gaskets. These actually go between the main cylinder casting, cylinder block, and the cylinder head. There's 4 of these, 2 for each cylinder, one for the front and one for the back. I've got them measured out already on what I need. Let me see if I got that sketch. So these are, it's like 8 1/4 on the outside diameter. The inside diameter, 7.1. I actually measured I think 175 is what I need, 7.175 inside diameter. I measured the part that they fit up over, and the thickness of these is about 25 thousandths. So let me write this down. 25 thou thick, 8.250 OD, and 7.175 ID. I'm gonna have to probably order these, get somebody to cut them out for me. My laser won't cut through this metal, so I'll have to get them done somewhere professionally, but I'll find some place to get those ordered. And while I'm measuring gaskets, the other thing I need is some gasket paper to make some paper gaskets. And there's a couple places that need these. And I kind of saved some of the old ones, what was left of them. The main thing was just to get the thickness of the gasket paper. So let's see what this is. So that's about 9 thousandths, 10, 12 thousandths. I'm sure this paper's been compressed. 11, 12 thousandths. So probably, well, a 64th is basically 15 thousandths. So I will probably go with a 64th inch thick gasket material. We'll order some gasket paper, and I can cut these out on my laser. I've got my little laser, it'll cut through it'll do gaskets, and I'll have to draw those up and get those. So let me write this down. Gasket paper, about what did I say, 64th? Yeah, 1/64 thick. All right. Well, I'm sure as we start to put this thing back together, there's going to be other little pieces of hardware that we need, but I think we've got the major part here. I'm going to just go down through my list here and see if there's anything else that I see that stands out. And I've got a list of stuff to order. Yeah, I actually went just a minute ago and kind of got a rough idea. It's going to be about a $500 order, not counting the gaskets, the copper gaskets. I think those are probably going to be, it's probably going to be another $250, $300, I'm guessing, to get those cut out. But anyway, we got to have this stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff ordered. And when we get it in, I think we can really kind of start on the next steps on this project. And I got to decide what the next step I want to do is. I think that what I'm going to probably go ahead and do is get the babbitt poured in the crosshead slides, because that's going to require heating that casting up, and I would rather go ahead and get that done before I start putting things back together. And putting heat in there after we start putting things together could potentially cause some issues, so I think I'd rather just go ahead and get that done. To do that, I got to put the cylinder heads back on. I'm going to have to make some little jigs, fixture, whatever you want to call it, to hold the piston in, or to hold everything in the right position, to get it positioned properly so that we can pour those. You'll see when we get there, but I think that's going to be the first step. But I'm going to have to actually start putting I got to at least get the cylinder head on to do that, so I'm going to need this hardware to do that. And then we'll probably work on getting the crankshaft put in and just kind of building it out. That's kind of my game plan. I think that's my game plan anyway. It'll probably change. But with that, guys, that is as far as I can go today. Until I get the hardware in, there's nothing else I can really do on the Stoker engine, but we are moving in the right direction on this thing, finally. So with that, that's a wrap. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thumbs up, comments, greatly appreciated. Those help out with the algorithms a lot. Big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, etc. It really does help out as well. And with that, guys, we are going to get out of here. We'll catch you guys on the next video. Again, as always, thanks for watching.